You went to bed last night feeling okay about your numbers. You skipped the bread at dinner. You had grilled salmon and a salad. You tested before bed, and it read 112. You thought, finally, a good night. Then your alarm went off at 6 this morning, and the very first thing you did before coffee, before anything, was reach for that meter. 163. You did not eat a single thing in 8 hours. Nothing. And your blood sugar went up 51 points while you were lying in bed sleeping. That is not a diet failure. That is not you cheating. That is your liver doing something your doctor has probably never explained to you in any real detail. Here is what I want you to understand right now before we go any further. That 163 on your meter this morning is not a reflection of what you ate last night. It is a reflection of what your liver did between 2 and 4 in the morning while you had zero control over it. And the reason it matters is that most blood sugar management programs, most medication adjustments, most dietary advice, it is all aimed at your daytime numbers. The overnight window, those 7 or 8 hours where your liver is running completely unsupervised, that is the blind spot. That is the gap nobody talks about. But here's what I am going to show you today. There are 7 seeds, specific seeds, backed by peer-reviewed clinical trials, that either slow down what your liver is doing in those overnight hours or create a buffer that protects your bloodstream from the glucose flood. One of them has a meta-analysis of 16 randomized controlled trials that is the gold standard of medical evidence, showing it reduced fasting blood sugar by more than 21 milligrams per deciliter. That is a number your endocrinologist would pay serious attention to if they saw it in a pharmaceutical study. It costs about $9 for a bag that lasts 2 months. I am going to rank these 7 seeds from least to most powerful, specifically for overnight blood sugar control. Not general health, not daytime glucose. Overnight, while you sleep. And I want you to watch all the way through because number 1 is the seed that targets the exact mechanism responsible for that morning number. And I am going to show you exactly how to use it tonight. Welcome to LiveWellToday. And this is the video your morning meter has been waiting for. Before we get to the seeds, I need you to understand one thing. Because without this one piece of information, the list is just a list. With it, every seed on this list makes complete sense. Your body does not shut down when you go to sleep. It runs what I call a maintenance program. Your heart keeps beating. Your brain keeps working. Your cells keep repairing themselves. All of that biological activity requires fuel, and that fuel is glucose. So when you stop eating at 7 or 8 in the evening and you go to bed, your body needs to find glucose from somewhere. And it does. Your liver takes over. Think of your liver like a backup generator in a large building during a blackout. When the main power goes out, the generator kicks on automatically. It starts producing electricity to keep the lights running, keep the elevators working, keep the systems alive. That is exactly what your liver does at night. It starts manufacturing glucose from scratch, releasing it into your bloodstream to keep your brain and organs fed through those overnight hours. This is called hepatic glucose production, and without it, you would not wake up in the morning. It is not a malfunction. It is your body doing its job. Here is where the problem begins for people your age, especially if you have been diagnosed with type 2 diabetes or prediabetes. In a healthy person in their 20s or 30s, that liver generator has a thermostat. It reads the current glucose levels in the blood, and it calibrates the output accordingly. When there is enough glucose already circulating, it pulls back. It produces just the right amount. Not too much, not too little. But research shows that in people with type 2 diabetes, the liver loses its ability to suppress that overnight glucose production in response to insulin. The thermostat breaks. The generator keeps running hot. It overproduces. And the result is that glucose floods your bloodstream between 2 and 4 in the morning, right when you are in your deepest sleep and completely unable to do anything about it. There is a clinical name for this. It is called the dawn phenomenon. According to the Cleveland Clinic, the dawn phenomenon affects more than 50% of people with type 2 diabetes. And here is what makes it particularly difficult to manage at your stage of life. After 60, your muscle mass has naturally decreased. Your muscles are the primary tissue that absorbs and clears excess glucose from your bloodstream. Less muscle means less capacity to clean up what your liver overproduced during the night. So the glucose just sits there circulating. Your meter picks it up at 6 in the morning and reads 163, and you spend the rest of the day wondering what you did wrong. You did not do anything wrong. Your liver did something your medication was not fully addressing overnight. That is the gap. And that is exactly where these 7 seeds come in. Not because they are miracle cures, because the specific biological compounds inside them either slow down that liver overproduction, create a physical barrier in your gut that slows glucose absorption, or improve your cell's ability to respond to insulin during those overnight hours. Some of them do all 3 at the same time. Let us start at number 7 and work our way up to number 1. Number 7 is sunflower seeds. And I already know what you were thinking. Sunflower seeds? That is ballpark food. Stay with me for 2 minutes, because what I am about to explain will change how you look at these. 1 ounce of raw sunflower seeds, that is roughly 2 tablespoons, a small handful, delivers 91 milligrams of magnesium. That is about 22% of everything you need in an entire day from that 1 handful. Now here is why magnesium matters specifically at night for blood sugar. This is the mechanism your doctor probably has never walked you through in any detail. Magnesium is the mineral that tells your insulin receptors to open. Picture it this way. Insulin is the key. Your cells are the doors. And magnesium is the actual lock mechanism inside those doors. Without enough magnesium in your system, insulin shows up right on time, the key turns, but the door does not open. Glucose cannot get inside the cell. It bounces off and stays in your bloodstream. Your meter reads high, not because you ate the wrong thing, because you are missing the mineral that makes the whole system work. A large systematic review and meta-analysis published in the journal Diabetes Care followed over 4,000 participants and found that higher magnesium intake was significantly associated with lower fasting insulin levels and improved insulin sensitivity. That word, sensitivity, is everything for you at this stage. Insulin resistance, which means your cells are becoming less responsive to insulin, is the core mechanism of type 2 diabetes. Magnesium directly pushes back against that resistance. But sunflower seeds bring a second compound that almost nobody talks about. It is called chlorogenic acid. You may have heard of this in connection with green coffee bean extract. Chlorogenic acid slows the release of glucose from the liver. Remember the generator I described? Chlorogenic acid is like turning the dial down slightly. It does not shut the generator off. It calibrates it. A study published in the journal Curious reviewed the bioactive compounds in sunflower seeds and confirmed that chlorogenic acid plays a measurable role in improving glycemic control in people with type 2 diabetes, specifically by moderating that hepatic glucose release. I want to be honest with you about where sunflower seeds rank and why. The magnesium and chlorogenic acid are real benefits. The evidence is solid. But the magnitude of the effect is modest compared to what you are going to hear about at numbers 3, 2, and 1. Sunflower seeds are a good supporting player. They are not the star. Here is how you use them. Buy raw unsalted sunflower seed kernels, the shelled ones. Not roasted. Not salted. Raw. 1 ounce, roughly 2 tablespoons. Eat them about 90 minutes before bed. Toss them over a small bowl of plain Greek yogurt, or just eat them straight. The flavor is mild, slightly earthy, slightly nutty. Most people find it pleasant. You can find a 16-ounce bag at Sam's Club for about $4. That bag will last you several weeks. Number 6 is hemp seeds. And I need to address the obvious thing right away. Hemp seeds contain 0 THC. 0. They are not marijuana. They are not a controlled substance. They are sold at Costco, Whole Foods, Walmart, and every major grocery store in the country. They are legal in all 50 states. They are just seeds, but they are extraordinary seeds. Here is what makes hemp seeds unusual from a blood sugar standpoint. They deliver 31 grams of complete protein per 100 grams. And when I say complete, I mean they contain all 9 essential amino acids, the ones your body cannot manufacture on its own and has to get from food. That is rare for a plant source. Most plant proteins are missing at least 1 essential amino acid. Hemp seeds have all 9. Now, why does protein matter specifically at night for blood sugar? Because protein triggers a hormone called GLP-1, which stands for glucagon-like peptide 1. You may have heard this name recently. It is in the news because medications like Ozempic and Wegovy work by mimicking this hormone. Those medications are pharmaceutical versions of something your body can produce naturally in response to eating protein. Hemp seeds are one of the most effective natural triggers for GLP-1 from a plant source. GLP-1 does 2 things overnight that directly impact your morning number. First, it slows gastric emptying. Your stomach processes whatever you ate at dinner more slowly. Glucose trickles into your bloodstream gradually over several hours instead of flooding it in the first hour after your meal. That keeps the overnight baseline lower from the start. Second, and this is the one that connects directly to the dawn phenomenon, GLP-1 suppresses glucagon secretion. Glucagon is the specific hormone that signals your liver to start releasing glucose. Less glucagon signal means less overnight liver dumping. You are pulling back on the trigger that fires up that backup generator. Hemp seeds also have what nutritional scientists describe as a nearly perfect omega-6 to omega-3 ratio, approximately 3:1. Research published in the Australian Journal of Clinical Nutrition found this specific ratio was associated with significant reductions in systemic inflammation. And inflammation matters for blood sugar because chronic low-grade inflammation, the kind that does not announce itself with pain or fever but quietly runs in the background, is one of the primary drivers of insulin resistance. It corrupts the signal pathway between insulin and your cells. Reducing that inflammation makes your insulin more effective. Here is how you use hemp seeds. 3 tablespoons sprinkled over whatever you are eating for dinner. You do not need to soak them. You do not need to grind them. You just sprinkle them. They taste mild, slightly like pine nuts. They disappear into food. You can put them on a salad, stir them into yogurt, mix them into oatmeal, or add them to any dinner plate. The key is to eat them with your last meal of the day, not right before bed. Give your body about 2 to 3 hours before you lie down so the GLP-1 response is time to engage. A 12-ounce bag at Costco costs around $8 and lasts 3 to 4 weeks. Number 5 is pumpkin seeds. And I want to be specific about which pumpkin seeds I mean. I mean pepitas, the flat, dark green seeds. Not the white-shelled variety, the flat green ones. Most people who follow health content have heard that pumpkin seeds are rich in magnesium. That is true. 1 ounce delivers about 150 milligrams of magnesium, which is 37% of your daily requirement. But I am not ranking pumpkin seeds at number 5 because of the magnesium. I am ranking them here for a compound that most people have never heard of. Pumpkin seeds contain a compound called D-chiroinositol. You can just call it DCI. And DCI does something remarkable. It mimics the action of insulin at the cellular level. It helps your cells absorb glucose without requiring the same amount of insulin to make it happen. Your pancreas has been working hard for decades. The beta cells that produce your insulin are fatigued. D-chiroinositol is like having a coworker step in and take some of that workload. It helps get glucose into cells even when insulin signaling is impaired. A randomized placebo-controlled clinical trial published in Nutrition Research found that adding pumpkin seeds to a high-carbohydrate meal reduced post-meal blood glucose by approximately 35% compared to the same meal without seeds. Think about what that number means. The same dinner, the same carbohydrates. Just adding pumpkin seeds to the plate produced a 35% lower glucose response after the meal. Here is why that matters specifically for your overnight blood sugar. Your final meal before bed, whatever it is, determines the glucose trajectory for your first 3 to 4 hours of sleep. If that meal produces a sharp spike, your body starts the night in a state of hormonal overcorrection, and your liver then overcompensates in the opposite direction by flooding glucose back into your blood at 2 or 3 in the morning. If that after-dinner glucose curve is flatter, your liver stays calmer. The generator runs quieter. Pumpkin seeds help flatten that curve not by blocking glucose, but by helping your cells actually use it. How to use them? Raw pepitas, 1 ounce with your evening meal. If you want to lightly roast them at home, keep your oven below 170 degrees. Low and slow for about 15 minutes, just a touch of sea salt. Keep the temperature low because high heat degrades some of the beneficial compounds. A 20-ounce bag at Trader Joe's runs about $6. Number 4 is chia seeds. And I already know most of you have heard about chia seeds. But I want to tell you something very specific about chia seeds in the context of overnight blood sugar that I almost never hear discussed anywhere. Yes, chia seeds absorb 12 times their weight in water. Yes, they form a gel. Yes, the gel slows digestion. You know the basics. But here is what most people do not know. And this is the part that earns chia seeds a place on a nighttime list specifically. When you eat soaked chia seeds about 90 minutes before bed, that gel does not just sit in your stomach. It migrates and coats the lining of your upper small intestine. It creates a physical barrier, a mucilage layer, between the glucose molecules in your food and the intestinal wall where absorption into your bloodstream actually happens. You are physically slowing down how fast glucose can cross from your gut into your blood. And here is the timing piece that makes this specifically relevant for nighttime. That mucilage layer does not dissolve in 2 hours. Research shows it persists for 4 to 6 hours. If you eat soaked chia seeds at 8:30 in the evening, that barrier is still actively working at 2 in the morning, which is precisely when your liver begins its peak overnight glucose production run. You are protecting the absorption surface at the exact same moment the liver is flooding your bloodstream with glucose from the other direction. That is a double defense that is unique to chia seeds on this list. Chia seeds are also among the richest plant sources of ALA, alpha-linolenic acid, a plant-based omega-3 fatty acid. A meta-analysis of 8 randomized controlled trials published in Nutrition Reviews in 2025 found that chia seed consumption significantly reduced systolic blood pressure by over 7 points and diastolic blood pressure by 6 points. The blood pressure connection matters for overnight blood sugar because better vascular health means better glucose clearance from your bloodstream while you sleep. I want to be straightforward with you about something. The evidence specifically linking chia seeds to lower fasting blood glucose numbers is mixed. Some studies show modest improvement. Some show no significant change in fasting glucose specifically. But the mucilage barrier mechanism is well documented. The 4 to 6 hour persistence of that gel layer is what earns chia seeds a specific role in nighttime glucose management. And if you are managing type 1 diabetes, this applies to you as well. The mucilage barrier slows glucose absorption regardless of which type of diabetes you have. Here is the key most people miss. You cannot eat dry chia seeds and get this effect. You have to soak them. 2 tablespoons in half a cup of water. Let them sit for at least 20 minutes. They will turn into a thick gel, almost a pudding texture. That gel is the medicine. Eat it plain or stir it into unsweetened yogurt. 1 hour before bed. A 2-pound bag at Costco costs about $8 and will last you well over a month. Number 3 is ground flaxseed. And I have to emphasize that word, ground, not whole. If you eat whole flax seeds, they pass through your digestive system largely intact. Your body does not absorb the key compounds. You are essentially spending money on seeds that become inert fiber in your gut. You must grind them. I will tell you the easiest way to do that in a moment. Ground flaxseed contains a compound called secoisolarisuresinol diglucoside. You can call it SDG. It is a type of lignin, which is a category of polyphenol, a plant compound. And SDG does something that almost nothing else on this list can do. It activates a biological receptor called PPAR gamma. I want to explain what PPAR gamma is because this is important. PPAR gamma is the exact same receptor that is targeted by a class of prescription diabetes medications called thiazolidinediones. These are insulin-sensitizing drugs that endocrinologists prescribe specifically to make muscle and fat cells more responsive to insulin. When PPAR gamma activates, your cells open up. They pull glucose in more efficiently. Your blood does not have to carry as much of it overnight. The prescription version of this mechanism can cost $40 or more per month with insurance. A 2-pound bag of whole flax seeds at most grocery stores costs $3 to $4 and lasts about 6 weeks. Same receptor, different delivery system, significantly different price tag. A meta-analysis of 25 randomized placebo-controlled trials published in the journal Nutrition Reviews found that whole ground flaxseed supplementation significantly reduced fasting blood glucose by an average of 2.94 milligrams per deciliter. It also significantly reduced insulin levels and improved HOMA, the homeostatic model assessment for insulin resistance, which is the gold standard measurement of how resistant your cells are to insulin. But here is the critical finding in the subgroup analysis of that same meta-analysis that you need to hear. The blood sugar reduction was statistically significant only in studies that used whole ground flaxseed, not flaxseed oil, not lignin extract, only ground flaxseed, and only in studies lasting 12 weeks or longer. That tells you something important about how this works. This is not a seed you try for a week and expect to see a dramatic shift. This is a compound that recalibrates insulin sensitivity over months. You eat ground flaxseed every night for 12 weeks, and the cumulative improvement in how your cells respond to insulin gradually changes your overnight glucose profile. The liver generator does not just turn down one night. It recalibrates over time. That is a different kind of power than a quick fix. And for managing a chronic condition like type 2 diabetes, cumulative recalibration is exactly what you want. Ground flaxseed has a second mechanism that operates completely independently from the first. It contains mucilage, a type of soluble fiber that forms a viscous gel when it contacts liquid in your intestine. That mucilage binds to bile acids in your gut. When bile acids are bound and cannot be reabsorbed, your liver has to manufacture new ones. To do that, your liver pulls cholesterol out of your bloodstream, which is why flaxseed also lowers LDL cholesterol. But the relevant part here is that your liver is now occupied with a metabolic task other than dumping glucose. Here is how to use it. Buy whole flax seeds. Put a couple tablespoons in a cheap coffee grinder and pulse it for 10 seconds. Pre-ground flaxseed that sits in a bag at the store has already started to oxidize. The oils go rancid and you lose the lignins that make this work. Grind fresh and store what you do not use immediately in the freezer. 2 tablespoons of freshly ground flaxseed stirred into warm water or mixed into yogurt, taken with dinner or within 2 hours of going to bed. A 2-pound bag at Kroger, Publix, or most grocery chains runs about $4 and lasts roughly 6 weeks. Number 2 is fenugreek. Open a bag of fenugreek seeds, and the first thing that hits you is the smell. Warm, slightly sweet, almost like maple syrup. That aroma comes from a compound called sotalol, the same molecule responsible for the characteristic scent of maple syrup. But the medicine inside fenugreek is not in the smell. It is in a very unusual amino acid called 4-hydroxyisoleucine. 4-hydroxyisoleucine is found in significant concentrations only in fenugreek seeds. No other common plant produces it in meaningful amounts. And what it does is remarkable. It directly stimulates insulin secretion from your pancreatic beta cells. But here is the distinction that separates it from every pharmaceutical that does something similar. It only does this when blood glucose is elevated. When your blood sugar is in the normal range, 4-hydroxyisoleucine does nothing. It sits quiet. It waits. This is called glucose-responsive insulin stimulation, and it is a massive distinction from how most diabetes medications work. Sulfonylureas, drugs like glipizide and glibenclamide that many of you may be taking, force your pancreas to release insulin regardless of what your blood glucose is doing. They do not check first. They just push. That is why they can cause dangerous nighttime hypoglycemia, dangerously low blood sugar while you are asleep. You might not wake up to feel the shaking or sweating that would normally alert you. That is a real and documented risk. 4-hydroxyisoleucine does not work that way. It responds proportionally to what is actually happening in your bloodstream. More glucose present, more insulin stimulation. Normal glucose, it steps back. The response is calibrated to the need. An updated systematic review and meta-analysis published in the Annals of Medicine and Surgery in 2024, covering randomized controlled trials with 626 diabetic participants, found that fenugreek powder significantly reduced fasting blood sugar, HbA1c, and post-meal glucose levels. And none of the trials in that review reported significant adverse effects. Now think about what glucose-responsive insulin stimulation means specifically at night. Between 2 and 4 in the morning, when your liver starts its peak overnight glucose release, 4-hydroxyisoleucine can respond in real time to that rising glucose. It matches the output with proportional insulin stimulation. That is the kind of intelligent overnight response that translates directly to a lower number when you reach for your meter at 6 in the morning. Fenugreek has a second mechanism that is completely different from the first. The seeds are roughly 45% soluble fiber by weight, specifically a fiber called galactomannan. When you soak fenugreek seeds in water overnight, that galactomannan swells and creates a thick, viscous gel that coats the lining of your stomach and significantly slows gastric emptying. Food moves out of your stomach more slowly. Glucose enters your blood gradually over hours rather than flooding in during the first 60 minutes after a meal. After age 60, gastric emptying naturally slows down already, and in most situations that feels like a nuisance at the dinner table. But for overnight blood sugar management, slower gastric emptying is a meaningful advantage. Whatever you ate at dinner is being processed in a controlled, gradual way rather than hitting your bloodstream all at once at 9 in the evening. How to use it? Soak 1 tablespoon of whole fenugreek seeds in a quarter cup of room temperature water. Let them sit overnight on your counter. The following evening, about 90 minutes before bed, drink the water and eat the softened seeds. Soaking reduces the bitterness significantly. If the texture bothers you, you can grind dry fenugreek seeds into powder and mix half a teaspoon into warm water with a small amount of raw honey. Either method works. You can find whole fenugreek seeds at any Indian grocery store for about $2 a bag or online. That bag will last you 6 to 8 weeks. I came very close to putting fenugreek at number 1. The dual mechanism, glucose-responsive insulin stimulation plus the galactomannan gel, is genuinely extraordinary. But number 1 does something that fenugreek alone cannot do. It targets the overnight liver problem directly at its source. And the clinical evidence behind it is the most comprehensive on this entire list. Number 1 is Nigella sativa. You may know it as black seed, or sometimes black cumin. It is a small, dark seed with a slightly peppery, earthy flavor. And the clinical research behind it for fasting blood sugar is, quite simply, the strongest evidence on this entire list. The primary active compound in Nigella sativa is called thymoquinone. And thymoquinone does something that none of the other 6 seeds on this list can do alone. It addresses the overnight blood sugar problem at its root, at the liver itself. Here is the mechanism. Thymoquinone directly reduces hepatic glucose production. Hepatic means of the liver. It reaches into the liver's own glucose manufacturing pathway, the biochemical process of gluconeogenesis and glycogenolysis, and dials it down. It is not working through insulin. It is not working through fiber or gel barriers. It is communicating with the generator directly and telling it to produce less. This is a fundamentally different mechanism from everything else on this list. Seeds 2 through 6 all work downstream of the liver, either slowing what happens to glucose after it enters your bloodstream or improving how your cells respond to insulin. Black seed goes upstream. It reduces how much glucose your liver produces in the first place. That is the root of your morning number problem. The clinical evidence for this is exceptional. A meta-analysis of 16 randomized controlled trials published in the journal Complementary Therapies in Medicine in 2025. This is the most current and comprehensive analysis available, found that black seed supplementation significantly reduced fasting blood glucose by 21.43 milligrams per deciliter and reduced HbA1c by 0.44%. Let me put that 21-point reduction in terms you can apply to your own numbers. If your fasting glucose typically runs at 155 every morning, a 21-point reduction would bring that to 134. That is the difference between your doctor reviewing your numbers and talking about increasing your metformin dose, and your doctor reviewing your numbers and saying whatever you are doing is working, keep doing it. That difference in what your doctor says at your next appointment is determined by those 21 points. A 0.44% reduction in HbA1c may sound small. I want to reframe that for you. Research published in major cardiology journals has shown that every 1% reduction in HbA1c corresponds to approximately a 14% reduction in your risk of cardiovascular complications from diabetes. That is heart disease. That is kidney protection. That is the quality of your next 10 to 15 years. A 0.44% movement is not cosmetic. It is meaningful in clinical terms. Thymoquinone does not stop at liver output. It also improves insulin sensitivity in peripheral tissues. Your muscles and fat cells become more responsive to the insulin your pancreas is producing. And it provides antioxidant protection to your pancreatic beta cells themselves, the cells that manufacture your insulin. After decades of managing blood sugar, those cells are under significant oxidative stress. Thymoquinone acts as a protective shield around them, slowing the damage. A second meta-analysis, this one published in Frontiers in Nutrition in 2022, found that black seed supplementation significantly reduced inflammatory markers, including CRP, which is C-reactive protein. If your doctor has ever mentioned that your CRP is elevated, that inflammation is directly amplifying your insulin resistance. Black seed is simultaneously working on the liver, the insulin receptors, and the inflammatory environment. 3 mechanisms running at the same time through the overnight hours when you are asleep. How to use it? 2 grams per day. That is approximately half a teaspoon of ground black seed. Mix it into a tablespoon of raw honey and eat it directly. The honey cuts the bitterness and makes it genuinely pleasant. Or stir it into warm water. Take it 60 to 90 minutes before bed. Many people stir it into a small bowl of plain yogurt, which works just as well. You can find a 1-pound bag of whole black seed online or at most health food stores for about $8 to $10. That bag will last you more than 2 months. And I want to address something directly. Some of you are on metformin right now. You have been on it for 10 or 15 years. I am not telling you to stop. That conversation belongs between you and your physician. What I am telling you is that the research shows black seed and metformin work through different mechanisms. They do not compete. They complement each other. Your endocrinologist has access to these studies. They are published in peer-reviewed journals. If you bring your numbers to your next appointment and those numbers are trending down, your doctor will want to understand what you are doing. Before you go buy anything tonight, I need you to hear this section completely. These seeds are biologically active. That means they have real effects on your body. And real effects mean real interactions with medications you may already be taking. I am going to give you 3 specific warnings, and I need you to take them seriously. Warning number 1. Fenugreek and insulin or sulfonylureas. If you are currently taking insulin injections, or if you are taking a sulfonylurea medication, those are drugs like glipizide, glibenclamide, or gliburide. You must speak with your physician before adding fenugreek. Fenugreek directly stimulates insulin secretion. If you are already taking a drug that forces insulin release, the combination can push your blood sugar dangerously low while you are asleep. Nighttime hypoglycemia is one of the most dangerous events for anyone with diabetes. You may not wake up to feel the warning symptoms. Do not add fenugreek to your routine without checking with your doctor first. This is not a suggestion. It is a medical safety issue. Warning number 2. Chia seeds and ground flaxseed with thyroid medication. Both chia seeds and ground flaxseed form gels in your digestive tract. That gel can physically trap certain oral medications and prevent them from absorbing properly, specifically levothyroxine, which is the drug sold as Synthroid. If you take your thyroid medication in the morning, this is not an issue because you are eating the seeds at night and there is plenty of time between them. But if you take your thyroid medication at bedtime, you must separate it from these seeds by at least 4 hours. Taking them together can cause your thyroid levels to drop and leave you feeling chronically exhausted without knowing why. Warning number 3. Black seed and blood thinners. Specifically warfarin, which is also called Coumadin. The thymoquinone in black seed has mild antiplatelet activity. When combined with warfarin, this can increase your bleeding risk. This does not mean you cannot use black seed if you are on warfarin. It means your physician needs to know you are adding it. They may want to adjust your INR monitoring frequency. Bring it up at your next appointment and show them what you are doing. These 3 warnings are not reasons to be afraid of these seeds. They are reasons to treat them as what they are, which is biologically active food compounds that deserve the same respect you would give any supplement. Tell your doctor. Bring your numbers. Show the evidence. That is not weakness. That is how informed patients get better outcomes. All right. You have the 7 seeds. You have the mechanisms. You have the safety information. Now I want to make the practical side of this as simple as possible because the number one thing I hear from people watching this channel is I understand the information, but I do not know how to actually start using it. So here is a specific 3-week protocol you can begin tonight. Week 1. 1 seed only. Start with ground flaxseed. It is the most widely available, the cheapest, the easiest to prepare, and it requires no soaking or special preparation. 2 tablespoons of freshly ground flaxseed stirred into warm water or mixed into yogurt. Take it with dinner or within 2 hours of going to bed. Every night for 7 consecutive days. Check your fasting blood sugar every morning and write the number down in a notebook or your phone. You are establishing your baseline. You are building the habit. Week 2. Add black seed. Continue the ground flaxseed with dinner. Add half a teaspoon of ground black seed mixed with a teaspoon of raw honey, eaten about 60 minutes before bed. You now have 2 seeds operating 2 completely different mechanisms at the same time. Flaxseed is working on PPAR gamma activation and bile acid processing. Black seed is working directly on your liver's glucose output and reducing inflammation. Continue checking your fasting number every morning and writing it down. Week 3. Add soaked chia seeds. Continue the flaxseed with dinner and the black seed with honey before bed. Add 2 tablespoons of chia seeds soaked in half a cup of water for 20 minutes. eaten about 90 minutes before bed. Now you have the mucilage barrier working overnight as the third layer of your overnight glucose defense system. After 3 weeks, look at your numbers from day 1 compared to day 21. Do not compare individual readings. Look at the trend. The morning average over the first week versus the morning average over the third week. That trend is your data. That is what you bring to your doctor. Every time you add something new, mention it to your physician. This is not about permission. It is about keeping your care team informed so they can see what is working and adjust your overall treatment plan accordingly if the numbers justify it. Let me leave you with the thing that I think about every time I look at what the research shows about overnight blood sugar and why it matters so much. That number on your meter in the morning is not a reflection of your discipline the night before. It is a report card on 8 hours of biological activity that was happening while you were completely asleep. Your liver was running. Your hormones were shifting. Your cells were responding or failing to respond to insulin signals. All of that happened without your conscious involvement. What you can control is the environment you set up before you go to sleep. The compounds you put into your body in the evening that then work through the night on your behalf. Ground flaxseed recalibrating insulin sensitivity. Black seed dialing down the liver generator. Soaked chia seeds creating a barrier in your intestine that persists until 2 in the morning. Fenugreek gel coating your stomach and slowing the glucose curve from dinner. These are not exotic interventions. They are foods with documented biochemical effects that work while you rest. The research is there. It is published. It is peer-reviewed. It is in the same databases your endocrinologist checks. You now know about it. What you do with it is up to you. I want to hear from you. Drop your fasting blood sugar number in the comments right now. The number you see first thing in the morning before you eat or drink anything. Just the number. I read every single comment on this channel. I respond to as many as I can, because those numbers tell a story. And if you have been waking up to 160 or 170 every morning thinking it is your fault, I want you to know it is not. It is a mechanism, and mechanisms have solutions. If this kind of content serves you, subscribe to Live Well Today. Every video on this channel is built on peer-reviewed research, written for you. Explain the way your doctor would explain it if they had 30 minutes instead of 7. This is your health. You deserve complete information. I will see you in the next video.